We're back, everyone. And in this segment, one of the oldest rivalries within the DC universe, Hal Jordan and Sinestro. Besides being one of the longest titles in the DC comic line, we have the difference of Hal Jordan and Sinestro. They've had to work together in the past, and begrudgingly they work together.
Yeah, and they're really not working together at this point. But there is a possibility that Hal is even working with his daughter Soranik Natu.
Exactly. All right, let's get to it. Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps number 5, Sinestro's Law Part 5, Joining Forces. There is a big battle coming.
yeah. This issue says that loud and clear.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, on one hand, there's the Green Lanterns, who are finally making their way off Mogo from wherever they are in the galaxy. They still haven't even explained where that is yet. They come off, run smack dab into a big giant fleet of ships.
Yep.
As it turns out, that fleet's heading to Warworld to go take out Sinestro. So now at least they'll get some star charts and maps as to where they are. On the other hand, you've got Hal, who's being taken care of by Soranik Natu. She just healed him. He's ready to go at Warworld too.
Yes.
So
I think right now, though, until the Green Lantern Corps met up with that fleet, that convoy, they are vastly outnumbered, underpowered. John Stewart had mentioned that they're down to 90%. They lost 90% of their force trying to get back from the outer edges of the galaxy. So they're very fortunate to meet this convoy, this coalition of people. Hal Jordan doesn't really quite understand that Warworld is being powered by fear, that they're harvesting fear throughout the universe, and that's why the rings, the Yellow Lantern rings, Sinestro Corps rings, really supercharged and threw Hal Jordan off.
Yeah.
Because he now, somehow, when he forged his ring made of pure will, his will, he has a deeper connection to the willpower, to the emotional spectrum. And he felt that spike when it went. He was like a disturbance in the spectrum.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if the combination of the Green Lanterns and that fleet is enough to take on the Sinestro Corps. Because we did see that sort of sponsored terrorism they did, where they just went around and sort of ransacked a whole bunch of places and terrorized a whole bunch of people to get that willpower spike to take out Hal Jordan. But at the same time, Sinestro also told them, don't do that.
Right.
We're the protectors. We don't need to do that. So it could be Sinestro could also be binding his own hands to that. If he's not going to take that step to beat them and just rely on Parallax and the fear engine they have on Warworld, that might be a more even battle than he expects.
Well, Sinestro is harvesting the greatest and the best people, breaking them into fear, feeding off the fear emotions with the fear engine. You see that the cult that they had trying to break Guy Gardner, they're torturing him quite severely, not really working, and he's reciting the oath, the Lantern's oath. They're still going. We also see that Soranik is, when talking to Hal Jordan, saying that she's the leader of the Sinestro Corps, and now they rule the galaxy police the galaxy through fear, because when the Green Lantern Corps left, there was no one to step and be the police force of the universe. So they came in, and instead through willpower, it's fear. Sinestro also, when he's talking, he's very, if he wasn't powered by the Parallax entity, he'd be pretty much feeble. That's what they said is, he was on his deathbed, and he used the power of Parallax to refuel himself. So maybe he's on borrowed time as well.
Yeah, could be, and it's interesting too that as Soranik is meeting with Hal explains that he's essentially turning into pure willpower.
Right.
I mean, he's turning translucent green himself, and Soranik's pretty surprised at that because even when she did surgery on him, she didn't notice any changes. So it makes it feel like Hal's sort of becoming the answer to Sinestro having Parallax's power. it even makes you wonder, is Hal becoming the new version of Ion? Which
Maybe.
was Ion being sort of the equivalent to Parallax among
Yeah, the
Green Lantern
entity,
Corps. Yeah.
the entity of
Yep.
willpower.
Which Kyle Rayner was for a while.
Yes. Kyle Rayner has been a lot of things in the emotional spectrum
Yeah.
at one time or another.
Definitely.
Now, we're getting to where Soranek was telling that there are a lot of good people in the Sinestro Corps, that not everyone is a fearmonger or doing Sinestro's bidding. Do you think that this is kind of going to foreshadow a split between the Sinestro Corps, where the divide, the ideology, the ideology, I'm butchering it. Ideology, yes. Thank you. Where they don't want to rule by fear, but they want fear constant, how to get over the fear. And Soranek and Sinestro, like a new generation of Sinestro Corps.
Yeah, a more maybe morally strict Sinestro Corps, which
Right.
I enjoy the concept of that. I mean, I would like to see the Sinestro Corps still exist.
Mm-hmm.
But having seen the Sinestro Corps guys we've seen, that seems like an interesting feat.
Right.
They seem pretty nuts and murderous and just scary. So it'll be interesting to see who she was talking about. If we're going to get to meet any of those more normal Sinestro Corps members.
What is your so far? What is your thoughts? Have you been reading Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps? What are your thoughts on the title, and what do you think is going to happen with this big battle?
Well, I mean, I think we've mentioned it a few times that this is the one sort of constant where there haven't been that many huge changes in Green Lantern Corps
Right.
with DC Universe Rebirth. And honestly, wasn't expecting big battle coming this quickly.
Exactly.
Seeing that fleet, it's like, whoa, okay, this is actually going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of like that, the impromptu road trip where someone shows up in a car and Jon
Mhm.
Stewart says, "All right, step
Yep.
over. I'm taking shotgun. We're going
Yep.
that way."
One, you mentioned Rebirth. The original Rebirth titles was Green Lantern Rebirth at the about 10 years ago or so. And when Sinestro is sitting on his bed, they show a picture of the Green Lantern emblem that was shot in his back by Green Arrow. Remember when all the arrows he shot and it showed him?
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice little touch of a constant reminder that he has went through a lot.
Yeah.
He's forever defined and scarred by the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, and it's an interesting reminder that he has to bear. I mean, because he was a Green Lantern himself.
Yep.
He was, prior to Hal Jordan, considered the greatest one they had.
Exactly.
And now he opposes him, yet he has
Yep.
that essentially tattooed on his back.
Exactly. Scarred for life.
Yeah.
That's Green Lantern Corps, the longest title ever. Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps #5. The Flash #7. No more speedsters. Josh, Flash #7. Give us a little bit info about August and his motivation.
Well, it's kind of cool that this issue starts off with August giving us his own little internal monologue, which we don't get to hear villains do their little monologues very often. And it's interesting that he wants to take out every villain he finds, every criminal, and that's what he's sort of faulting the Flash for. That's what he says to Barry. You can't have two lives because you let these guys live. You let them escape. You let them eventually just come back into the world. And I'm going out and I'm taking them out.
Right.
And I think it's noticeable that August doesn't consider himself a villain at all.
No, he's very much an anti-hero.
Yeah.
However, his methods, like you said, are very different from Barry Allen's.
Yeah.
And all that August can think about is vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Where Barry is thinking about justice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big divide between these two who were once friends, but I guess looking back, we could have even have saw it, as Barry says, looking back, once he got the Speed Force, I should have saw the signs of how he would use it.
Yeah.
Because Godspeed is very vicious with how he treats his criminals and suspects that he considers criminals.
Yeah, and we see that with he stops a black hole little terrorist situation where a bunch of them have taken over like what looked like a courtroom, and he handles them pretty brutally.
Yes.
Leaves two of them in the wall, decapitates one of them with a punch, which took me a while to figure out. Was he punches the guy, and then after that they said, "Geez, this guy doesn't have a head." Then you have to kind of flip back that page and think, "Oh, wow."
Right, because what he was saying is he could run at super speed and poke him, knock him out.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
He's almost enjoying the power. It's gone to him. It's corrupted him. And then when he took the other member of Black Hole and was questioning him about his brother, said he didn't know anything, he started shaking him violently and shook him so hard it pretty much disintegrated him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ooh.
which I've seen a few times in comics before with super speed, but it's kind of nice to see super speed used in different ways. I mean, I don't necessarily want to see a guy get his head punched off, but it's like, whoa, that would happen with super speed. If your hand's moving that quickly, you're not going to have a head there.
Using the Speed Force in different ways, Godspeed is able to create two versions of himself. He splits himself into two. That's how he was able to be in two places at once. Something that Barry Allen was never really quite able to do with the Speed Force. But it comes at a price, because after a while, if he keeps himself separated for too long, Godspeed starts to lose focus. And that is the way that Barry was able to pretty much escape from Godspeed at the time and to go to regroup. Then we next see Barry Allen, he's starting to bond a little bit with Wally West over Mina, and just kind of maybe starting the steps of taking him under the wing as his new sidekick.
Yeah, he's finally, he and New 52 Wally finally seem to have a bonding point, because they both lost Mina.
Yes.
I mean, Mina was really the only connection they had. I mean, New 52 Wally isn't that fond of Barry, but it seems like he's finally aware of New 52 Wally's super speed.
Yep.
Too. He's finally knows that. He even mentions, "Gee, what are the chances that two Wally Wests in my life would have superpowers?" Which is kind of a funny thing. But it seems like at some point Wally's going to end up helping against Godspeed.
Right.
I'm thinking. I mean, they've already taken the Speed Force back from all the other speedsters. They were at Star Labs, so they're sort of supercharged, so to speak. And with Godspeed being able to split himself into two, it seems like Barry's going to need as much help as he can get at this point.
Very well true. After this whole Godspeed situation is cleared up or drawn to a conclusion, we don't know really what Dr. Carver and the Black Hole are up to, because when Godspeed took one of the people from Black Hole and wanted information, the guy said they'd kill me, he'd kill me. Maybe there's more to Black Hole than Dr. Carver. Maybe it's a all-encompassing group. We really don't know. That is another aspect of this title, a plot point that maybe isn't quite resolved yet.
Yep, the guy Godspeed was questioning, also didn't know who Billy Parks was.
Yep.
Either. And if Billy Parks really killed August's brother, you'd think this guy would know it. I mean, if he was a member of the Black Hole. And he did. I mean, these guys mentioned they want Dr. Carver released. And then when Godspeed tells him, well, tell me everything you know about Black Hole, he says, he'll kill me. It makes me wonder, is that Dr. Carver, whose last we saw was pretty much catatonic in a jail somewhere, or is there another leader of Black Hole somewhere else?
Right.
Because they had sort of like alien technology too, so it'll be interesting to see what their motivations are. Because they do talk about taking the speed back.
Exactly. Too. At the end of this issue, Flash number 7, we see Godspeed coming back after he took the Speed Force. He stole the last piece of Speed Force, and he's going to Iron Heights to pretty much kill all the speedsters that he said that Barry Allen never killed. And I think we're really seeing the end of this story arc. It's reaching its conclusion.
Yeah. For the Fastest Man Alive, this has been a pretty long story arc.
Yes.
Really, I was sort of expecting him to confront Godspeed before this. I mean, we'll see if it's concluded at the end of that. I'm curious to see what happens to Godspeed at the end.
Right.
Because this is a guy who's really, really powerful and knows that Barry Allen is the Flash. So we'll see if he survives this story arc, or maybe Barry Allen can talk some sense into him. I don't know. We'll see.
Right. That's the Flash number 7, and Flash number 8 should be the conclusion of this story arc. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we'll discuss Action Comics number 964 and Wonder Woman number 7. We'll be back in just a moment.